Alright, welcome back. We're going to learn how to solve quadratic equations by completing the square. And before I show you how to solve a quadratic equation by completing the square, I first want to review what this means exactly. So if I was to take 3 and square it, what do you get?
9.
9. 5 squared.
25.
10 squared.
100.
100.
81.
81. What do we call these numbers?
Square root.
Perfect squares.
Oh.
So we call them perfect squares. Well, if we were to take a binomial, this over here, like x minus 3, and square it, what does that mean? What would we do?
2 sets of parentheses?
Wait, x minus 3 twice.
X minus 3 twice, 2 sets of parentheses. Exactly right. Because over here, that's what this means. 5 squared is 5 times 5. 10 squared, 10 times 10. So x minus 3 squared means x minus 3 times x minus 3. And if we work that out, you gotta distribute x squared minus 3x minus 3x plus 9. Good. So that gives us
X squared minus 6x plus 9.
excellent. What do you think we call this?
What happened?
What would we call that?
Quadratic
A perfect square.
Perfect square
equation.
Trinomial.
perfect square trinomial. So this is what we're after when we learn how to complete the square. So if we're trying to solve a quadratic equation by completing the square, this is what we're going to create. This is what we're going to look for. So I just want to go over this and review this from chapter 8, right? We have a binomial squared, we get a trinomial, and this trinomial is called a perfect square trinomial, building on what we already know. Okay? So let's try one. So let's try to solve this. So when we solve these using this method, I use 5 steps. Step 1. There's step 1. We make the equation look like x squared plus bx equals c, where a is equal to 1. So we pretty much keep x squared and x on the left, and we push our constant to the right. And then you make sure that a, for the leading coefficient, is 1. So looking at this example, what would be the first step? Add 4, that's correct. So we get x squared minus 8x equals 4.
No, we divide. No.
Careful. Now we go to step 2. Step 2 is we take b find b, you take b and then you divide it by 2. After that, you square it and then add it to both sides. Okay? So step 2 is the tricky part. If I lose you, you need me to do it again, feel free to ask questions. But from these two numbers, which one is B?
X. No, 8.
The negative 8, right? So there's our B. There's negative 8. What did I tell you to do?
Divide by 2.
Divide by 2.
It's 4 and the square root is
So we divide that by 2, we get
4.
negative 4.
You can't square it.
We're going to do what?
Square.
Square it. So remember, squaring it means times it by itself, right? So what's negative 4 squared?
16.
16. Then we're going to take that 16 and do what?
Add it to both sides.
So I keep this side the same. And I add my 16. So the x squared minus 8x, just bring it down. Add the 16 that we found from over here. Bring the 4 straight down and add the 16 over here.
But why do you keep the 8x?
Well, that's part of the equation, right? This is our equation. We're just adding a 16 on both sides. So we keep the 8x. There's no reason to not keep it, right? You just take these, slide them down. Take the 4, slide it down. They're still equal. And if you add the 16 on both sides, the equation's still equal, right?
Yep.
Whatever we do on one side, we have to do
To the
to the other side. And I love that. That's a cool little trick, right? We usually don't add something extra to an equation. We usually, when we're trying to solve, we try to get rid of things, right? Solving for x, we push the number to the side. But here we are creating a perfect square. That is a perfect square trinomial. We can factor that. Four plus 16?
20.
20. So you know what step 3 is? We write the perfect square trinomial in factored form. What number do you think goes in there?
Or 4.
You were really close, you were right.
Where?
Negative 4.
Oh.
Negative 4. Negative 4. And let me show you why this works. Okay? Somewhere on your paper, in your notes, maybe to the side, to the right, or to the left, but don't put it underneath this. We're still going to continue solving in a second. I just want to show you why this works. If you take x minus 4 squared and work that out, what does that mean?
X minus 4 and
X minus 4 times
X minus 4.
x minus 4,
And when you
that's right.
solve it, you get x squared minus x.
X squared,
Negative 4x.
negative 4x, negative 4x, plus 16. And if you look at this,
Same as
that's what's here, right? But then if you look one line above it, that 16 was missing. So we had to complete this trinomial. We wanted to create this perfect square trinomial. So that's why we call this completing the square. And so now you see why we divide by 2. What was B?
8.
Negative 8.
Negative 8.
Negative 8. Take that and divide it by 2.
Negative 4.
Whoa, look at that. Boom. Take that negative 8, divide by 2. Boom, there's your two factors right there.
So we're going back.
Yeah, we're going backwards. That's how we get that 16. So you take that, divide by 2, and then square it. What do you get?
Square 16.
Negative 4 squared is 16. That's how we get the 16. So that's why we square it. So you say you're lost. Ask me a question.
You hear me?
What's the answer?
I don't know. Where do you get those 2 from?
Which 2?
So 216.
Over here. Where's the 2?
Talking about the
Oh,
squared.
never mind.
This 2?
No, it's okay. I get it now. I'm serious.
Okay, good. So then the next example, you'll tell me how to do it. Yes? So from here, think about our warm-up today. We're solving an equation that's a quadratic. What do we do? What did we do in number 1 of the warm-up? Check your notes. How did we solve a quadratic equation?
We squared it.
No, we didn't square it.
We minus 4? No, well, we subtract.
You subtract.
GCF.
And once we got to this point, what did we do?
We find the square root.
Say that again?
Find the square root.
Find the square roots. Okay, so we don't square it, we find the square root.
I want too many steps.
Take the square root. So square root and squared, those are inverses. So x minus 4 equals, be careful,
Plus, minus.
plus minus
I square root 2.
2 root
2 square root 5.
2 root 5. And the last step, we have to solve for x. So if I want x by itself, we have to isolate the variable. We should
Subtract. Add 4.
add the 4. So x equals,
Plus or minus 4.
Plus or minus 6 square root 5.
no,
Plus 4?
4 plus or minus 2
Square root 5.
square root
Oh,
5.
because it's like negative because it doesn't fit in.
Okay, be careful. We cannot combine these. The order of operation says multiplication before addition or subtraction. So these would have to be multiplied and get a decimal before you introduce the 4. So we just keep it separate. So you bring the 4 down and then bring plus or minus 2 root 5 down. And that's it. 5 little steps.
No?
So yeah, it looks involved, but it's the first time you see it. After we do several of these and you practice the homework, I promise it'll be easier. So let's try another example, and then I want you guys to try one on your own. Good?
No, my pen.
What if we have 2x squared minus 20x? That would give me what, 10, that's 5, 25, 20. Yes. So that would be, no, I don't want a 5. I'll just put a 6. That should work. First step,
Make the equation
Subtract
x.
6.
subtract the 6. Make it look like this, right? Very good. So we subtract 6. And what would be next?
Divide by 2.
Take B and
Very
then
good.
divide by 2.
Excellent. We have to make A 1, right? Not like the steak sauce, but we have to make that.
Hey, what? Get it.
Thanks for the pity laugh there. I like that. Right, our leading coefficient A has to equal 1. So we make it a 1 by dividing by the coefficient.
Oh, I get it.
So we divide by 2, divide by 2, divide by 2. Here's what we got. Step 2.
Take B and divide by 2. Oh.
What's B?
Negative 10.
Negative 10. So I find B. There's B. Divide it by 2. What do we get?
Negative 5.
Negative 5. After we divide it by 2, we
Square.
square it. What do we get?
Negative 25. 25.
25. Then we
Add
Add
them
on
on both sides.
add it to both sides. So this comes straight down. So x squared minus 10x. Now we add the 25 to both sides. So the equation stays the same, negative 3 stays the same. Add the 25 to both sides.
I get it.
That's it. Now comes the fun part. We write this perfect square trinomial that we created in factored form. What goes in the parentheses?
5
minus
x plus 5.
Minus 5.
Right? Whatever half of that is. What's half of negative 10? Negative 5. That's what goes in there. Good. Step 4.
Take the
Square root it.
Take the square root. Square root it. And the square root of 22 won't simplify, right? Because it's 2 times 11. They're both prime. So it stays square root of 22. And the last step.
Solve for
Add
x.
Solve for x, so we
Add 5.
add the 5. So x is equal to
5.
5
Plus or
Plus or
minus
minus
22.
square root.
plus or minus square root of 22. Excellent. Very good. So you now have 2 examples. So I'm going to give you another one. I want you to work on it with your partner, and then we'll go over it. Make sure you got it. Everybody's good? I can erase? All right. It's a good one. It's a good one. Yep, that should work. All right, so try that one. If you need help, raise your hand. I'll come help you. But check your notes, the ones we just did. Should I add that?
Yeah.
So on step 1 then, right?
Yeah.
So make the equation that's like this. Maybe we should say divide by a, so that a equals 1. Does that help? Yeah? All right. So after you, what's the first step?
Divide by 2.
No.
You're adding,
subtracting.
Right, move the 9 and then divide by
3.
divide by 3. 3 divided by 3 is
1.
1.
Oh,
So
okay,
we're
I get
making
it now.
A1, right? Not the steak sauce.
I don't get it. You don't get it.
You didn't get my joke.
What?
Hey, can you check my answer?
Oh, fast.
You go fast.
Oh, you super corny.
Anything else?
Excellent. So in a little bit of work.
We.
Oh, okay.
Right, we can't combine those. I told you that this comes out in front. And what's the square root of 1? So then you say 10. So you walk down. And that's why I said that's a good one.
You said no.
Anyone else need help?
Me.
Me? Okay.
Okay, you divide, right? I divide with
Then find B is 4. Divide by 2 is 2 squared. So you have 4 to both sides. Good. And find B. What's B?
You divided by 2. First.
This on B is 4, right? Divide by 2.
Use this.
Divide by 2. And remember I told you that's how we split it. Perfect square trinomial. Square. 4. Yeah, I had 4 on both sides.
Oh, no, I need
Yeah. Let's go over these.
Divide by 2.
So I think some of you kind of on the right track, and then I saw you guys struggling towards the middle. So let's go over it. First step,
Subtract 9.
subtract the 9. Good. So we get 3x squared plus 12x equals negative 9. Then what?
Divide by 3.
Divide by 3. So x squared plus 4x equals negative 3. Good. Notice, so you guys gave me a good tip there, right? Divide by a. That way a divided by a gives us the 1. Then what?
So take B and
Take
Divide
B
by
and
two.
divide by
Divide by
2.
Take b,
Then you square it, then you
divide by
add
2, square it, it's 4. So that's what we add to both sides.
Divided, you put 4 squared.
So then we factor this.
X plus
X plus
2.
2.
2. Oh,
Right? This is always going to be half of b. This number inside the parentheses, I'll say it again if you want to put it in your notes. This number inside the parentheses is always half of b. So half of positive 4, positive 2. And you square it. Simplify that. Next step. Next step.
square it.
No.
Square it.
No.
Write the perfect.
Read step 4, please.
Take the
Take
square.
the root.
Take the square root.
Oh, that's what we meant.
Take the square root.
Yeah, that's what I meant.
So x plus 2 is plus or minus 1. Right? The square root of 1 is
1.
1.
1.
Subtract the 2. So x is negative 2 plus or minus 1. Hey, look!
What?
We could actually simplify this because it's not in the square root.
Negative 1.
Because square root of 1.
Well, we do them both. What's negative 2 minus 1? Negative 3.
Oh, yeah.
And what's negative 2 plus 1?
Negative 1.
Negative 1. So there's the answers.
Can it be also that one?
I will not accept that on the test.
Oh, why?
It's one you could do that in your head.
No.
So for the one you just added on both sides? Kind of?
You do this. So negative 2 minus 1, negative 3. And negative 2 plus 1, negative 1.
Garcia,
Oh, so you go up and then down. No, down and then up.
Well, you could think of it as this. That's all plus minus means. You do subtraction, you do addition. Okay?
Garcia, can you explain that part? Like the egg.
Yeah. Stop.
Except recording.
Yeah.